Well, good morning. How are you all today? And welcome to Integrative Preparedness. Let me get you straightened out there. I think sometimes I ought to put together a real cool studio like some of these guys have, but what the heck? I just sit here at my desk and talk to you and drink my coffee. I want to talk about the most dangerous time right now, something that I think a lot of people are kind of aware of, but probably don't give as much thought as they really need to. And we are entering the most dangerous time right now. So get yourself something to sip on while we talk. I'm drinking out of one of our very favorite, most popular mugs here. And it is the true test of your faith is when you don't understand anything at all, but still trust God. It's part of our, actually, that's not a scripture, but it's part of our scripture series. I am not, before we get to the meat of the matter here, I am not advertising any books or mugs right now because we are so swamped with pre-Christmas orders on books and mugs. We're doing our best to catch up, and you can still order them if you like, but I can't promise them to you by Christmas, so I don't want you to be disappointed on that. The most dangerous time of year, as far as survival, in most climates, okay, is wintertime. Now, if you're in Florida, you're in good shape. If you're in southern Arizona, you're in good shape. If you're in Veracruz, probably. But cold is an enemy that most people don't really think that much about. Now, people who live on ranches and farms and out in the woods and things like that, you are well aware of the lengths to which you have to go to prepare for and live through cold. But most people aren't, and it can be a killer. Cold kills. There is the saying that there's no bad weather, only bad clothing. Well, yeah, that's true. But most people, including most preppers, which is, if you're new to me, I hate the word prepper because it indicates something to me driven out of fear as opposed to a preparedness-minded person. Most preppers don't live on ranches and farms. Many of you do, or out in the woods of basic life. Most people who are involved in preparedness, live in the built-up areas, suburbs, cities, whatever like that. And so they don't think so much about it. I just read an article. Well, I looked it up actually, and so I looked up how many deaths occurred during cold are due to cold. Now I came upon a wide variety of figures. One said annually over 1,000 people annually in the United States, the continental United States. That doesn't include Alaska, but then it also doesn't include Hawaii, right? Over 1,000 people die directly related to cold. And now I found another one, and you never know about these things, but JAMA, which is the Journal of the American Medical Association, which I tend to, I have a long history with I've read JAMA for years, and you have to know how to read it, but they're pretty good, and it was more of an all-encompassing, all the things that can be directly related to, or in some cases indirectly related to cold weather. How many deaths? And they just put out a study this year that said that between 2020 and 2022 was their latest figures. About 45,000 people died a year in the United States from cold-related issues. Okay, we don't know what's right, what's wrong. I don't know if it's 1,000. I don't know if it's 45,000. I didn't do the study. You be the judge while I take another sip. Okay. However, it doesn't matter. What matters is that it doesn't happen to you. Now, of course, why is this the most? I've said before about why this is the most dangerous time of year. First off, just cold weather itself, but if we were going to be attacked by an enemy, EMP related, or if whatever the powers that be, as Kevin Altapeter says, the powers that should not be, decide to shut down a grid, either nationwide or locally, and you happen to be in the locally, then you're up a creek. Trying to stay warm is a major is a major issue. Those of you who have lived out in the woods, and those of you who have camped out in the woods, and know how much energy it takes when it's sub freezing, just to do things. Everything takes longer. Everything's harder. Um, it's more difficult to cook. Everything, right? So what should you do? I'm not, if you're new to me, I'm not necessarily one of those channels that's going to list everything that you should do. I'm going to give you some ideas. I've always kind of wondered why people love these videos so much, in which the content creator will list specific things that they need to do, and I go, well, I mean, I think that's pretty common knowledge. I mean, the average person can kind of figure that out, right? And so that's why I don't really concentrate on the specific things. But then I know people love it, and it's kind of like, and I realize it's like the Rocky movies, right? It's like the Rocky movies. That some of the most popular parts of Rocky movies. And it's usually when the theme song plays, right? And it's when he has decided to get back in shape, and he goes off somewhere, and it shows him doing sit-ups and pull-ups and hanging on chains and everything like that, and it just gets people going. And I think that's the attraction when people want to hear the specifics of what should I do? What should I do? Well, I'll give you a few specifics here of what you should do. First off, you should have plenty of food. Right? You should have plenty of food, and you should have plenty of water. What if your water freezes? What if it freezes up? Do you have plenty of stored water? Water is, extremely important. The next thing is food. Do you have enough food to last you a long time? I say years. But do you have enough food that you can eat without preparing? Okay, that's important. Canned goods go right into that. Canned meats, canned vegetables, canned fruits, all these kinds of things. Now, when you eat canned goods, a lot of the water that you need is contained in them. So first off, water. Do you have access to water? Do you have water storage? If you have, I live in the suburbs, but I have a good sized creek within a block and a half of me. That would be my water source. If I need to, I can go down there. I can truck down there. Me and the fam. Can go down there and with buckets and carry it back if we need to. We don't want to do that, so that's why we have stored water here at the place. So food. Now, when it comes to staying warm, do you have the right clothing? And by that I mean, do you have the clothing that if it gets down to 10 below, you can walk outside and work outside and stay outside, and if you can just stand around and appreciate the world at 10 below. If you don't, you might want to consider getting it. My brother has a cold suit that's good down to 60 below. I don't, because I don't intend to go anywhere where it's going to be 60 below. But the first thing, think about at your home. Do you have the ability? A lot of people think about food and water. Do you think about heat and light? That's one of the first things that I suggest people think about, heat and light. If the electricity's off, if everything's off, you need to be able to see, not just when the sun's up, and of course during the winter season, it's dark more than it's light, right? We're coming up on the winter solstice for all you druids out there, and was it the 22nd of December, I think, is the shortest day? Well, you need to be able to see well in order to function. So do you have enough lanterns? Do you have enough flashlights? Do you have enough batteries? I suggest you always have a couple of years of batteries, more, than that, because right now you don't use batteries that much, right? You use your flashlights at night, maybe, to whatever. Have plenty of batteries, and keep them in a situation that you're going to be able to keep them functional, right? Heat. Do you have the ability to heat your house or your wherever it is? Now, some of you have wood stoves. Most of us don't. Most people don't have wood stoves. Okay, wood stoves are something for people that are living more off grid and things like that. Most of us who are tied into the grid and live in the cities and suburbs, we don't have wood stoves. So how do you heat your house? Well, do you have a fireplace? And is that fireplace rated for wood? We have fireplaces in our house, only one of which is rated for wood. They're all gas. And they use gas, and I use gas in the family room in the big one. It's nice, to be honest, to go in there and turn the key and hit the lighter, and whew, I got a nice fire right there in my family room, right next to my chair, and it heats the place well. People will tell you that gas fireplaces don't heat well. Well, they can, depending on how they're built. You know, there's different ways to build these things, but make sure if you're looking at a house, you might make sure that it has a wood burning fireplace. Now the funny thing is, even though I use gas, I've got a lot of wood out along my back fence line that if I ever need to use it. Right now I just use it in a fire pit out back. But one of the reasons that I keep it is in case everything goes down and I need to bring that wood inside, right, and heat the house with it. Now it's not going to heat my whole house with it. You know what we would do is we would block off the main room for living during the day, and we would keep that, covering it with blankets and tarps, and make that room kind of a small little house where everybody can live comfortably during the day. And then when we go back out into the rest of the house, it's going to be cold, right? It's going to be freezing. You can either sleep in the warmth, or you can go sleep in bed, and I sleep pretty good when it's cold. I don't like it. I don't like cold, but I sleep pretty good in the cold. So even if you have a fireplace, make sure that it's if you can. You can't retrofit most of these gas fireplaces, but that's one issue. Now, if you don't have that, do you have buddy heaters? The buddy heaters are great. Little buddies and other buddies, we got a couple. I haven't used them in a long time. I probably should go out there and kick it on just to make sure that things haven't gone bad, that the gremlins haven't got to it since the last time that I used it. But the buddy heaters are good. Now I will say something about a very interesting thing. It used to be all over the place on prepper channels, and that is the flower pot heater. Are you all familiar with that? Most of you who have been around for a while are. Many new people are not. And I can maybe I'll do one on it one of these days. You take the clay flower pots, you get at Home Depot or find in the gardening center or at garage sales and things, and you stack several on top of each other. Large, medium, small. There's all sorts of ways to do it. There's a lot. I don't have to make one because YouTube is full of these things. Just go check one out, and you put a candle or 3 or whatever underneath it. You leave you set the lower pot up on something so that air can come in underneath, and then what it does it heats up. Now some people plug that hole on top. I don't, because you light these things up, and after a while you will feel the hot air being forced out of that hole on top. But the thing is, it heats up the entire all of the flower pots. It acts just like a radiator. Okay, and I had somebody. I've heard people claim they don't work, but I've used them, and I'll tell you they do work. They do work. We've had a cold spot in our house, and I put together one of those. Just set it on the. It was in our kitchen. Well, the kitchen, and then we have a bay area, an eating area there, and the windows were old and it got cold, and I just put one of those I put it on a tile, 2 foot by 2 foot tile on the kitchen table, and put one of those up, and that made that area just nice and toasty. I told you about how I constructed a heater. Well, I'm not going to get into that, but I made what I call a Smith furnace. This won't be the time for that. Maybe I'll do another one, which I heated my 4,800 square foot gym with years ago. There's all sorts of ways to do it, but do that. I would suggest you have flower pots. I would suggest that going into the next phase, you have some in your car. because that's the next thing. Do you have everything you need in your car? What if you break down on the highway? What if it's a snowstorm? What if it is, 0 degrees or 10 below, and you're waiting on a tow truck, or you're waiting for help, but it has snowed in, they've shut down the highways, and you're not getting out of there for a day or two? Do you have plenty of food? Do you have plenty of water in your vehicle? Do you have are you wearing the right clothes, or do you have the right clothes with you? Do you have blankets? Do you have sleeping bags? Every vehicle should be outfitted with a survival kit. Do you have flares? Do you have? And of course nowadays they use the electronic, flashing lights. My son just bought a VW Tiguan, and in it, very interestingly, he was surprised, and I was surprised, was a survival kit provided by Volkswagen. I had a girl that I knew from Germany years and years and years ago, 30 years ago. She told me, I can't swear whether this is true or not, but she told me. She said that in Germany, you have to have certain equipment in your car or you'll get a ticket. I think you have to have extra fuel, you have to have jumper cables, you have to have emergency, whatever, a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe that's why Volkswagen puts it in, but they put an emergency. You should have a well-stocked emergency kit in your vehicle, and heat and light. And what I was saying before about the flower pot heater, that will put off some heat if you're in a car or a vehicle, pickup, SUV, whatever like that. And make sure you got candles. I put that thing together, put it on something so it doesn't tip over. I don't need to tell you how to do this. Somebody will come on, well, yeah, but it'll tip over. Well, don't let it. I mean, you're a smart person, right? Put it on something that won't burn and will be a solid foundation for it, and light up your flower pot heater. It'll make a difference. Now, your car's not insulated, like a house is, but it will make a difference, and you can do things to insulate your car a little bit better too. So anyway, just think about that. We are entering the most dangerous time of year, whether it's by enemy or by nature, and things can be done and things should be done to mitigate the dangers there, to prepare you to be able to get through it, and hopefully, do just fine, or at least survive. You may not live well while it's going on, but you will survive. And of course, that is the first step, right? To preparedness is making sure you can survive. All right. Well, it's a cold day outside. I don't have to do any of that, although I do have my fireplace going. I'm going to go back into and I'm going to get a little fireplace heater in the office here, because it gets a little cooler here unless I really crank up the furnace, and I don't like to do that for the whole house because the other people don't like it as warm as I like it. So think about that and make sure that you are prepared for this most dangerous time of year, and remember that we prepare well today. Let me find a mug here. Oh yeah, there's one right there. We prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. So get out there and prepare well so you can live well. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.